I was pizza face when I was younger. So, like the fucking cancer drugs we all used to use. And now the kids put the adorable little stars on their faces. So that was my skincare, was poison. Welcome to Not Right Now, the podcast about parenting through all of this. Hey, it's Quinn, my children's second favorite dad most days. Claire and I have another guest today. Pretty exciting. I hope you're enjoying these as we kind of go back and forth between guests and just the two of us. Our guest name is Willa Koerner. She is a future-focused creative strategist, editor, writer, mom, and gardener. She writes a really cool blog called Dark Properties, which is a cool name. It's also really good. It's a weekly-ish newsletter connecting personal and planetary ecologies. She also co-founded The Strange Foundation, another name I love, an internet and nature-infused residency and retreat space currently on hiatus up in New York's Catskill Mountains, which are pretty beautiful this time of year. We had a really great talk with her. I really enjoyed it. She has a lovely background. We talked about skincare and unschooling and our favorite plants and being a parent and all of the adventures in that. So hope you enjoy this conversation with us and Willa. As always, you can send feedback to us at questions@notrightnow.show. Thanks.
Your glasses also look so good, and I feel like if I wore those, I'd look like Waldo, and you make them look very cool.
Funny story, I recently got banned from getting like perfectly round glasses because I have such bad astigmatism that if the lens rotates ever so slightly in a circular lens, like my whole vision gets messed up. So these have a very slight, they're like round without being round.
Yeah. Slightly octagonal almost.
I also got gaslit into getting transition lenses for like the fourth time in my life. So I look like Elton John half the time.
No, they're good. Wait, how old are you? Can I ask?
I'm 39. So.
Okay. I was curious whether you're getting like middle-age vision yet, if either of you guys have dealt with that or where you are in that journey currently.
I've just always had bad vision.
The only thing I have going for me is I still have like fighter pilot vision. Everything else is going. And everyone else in my family is fucking black. Don't be mad. I didn't make the choice.
No, I'm just thinking back on my vision, like history, like just while you were
It does nothing for me. I can't hit a baseball. No, there's nothing it's applicable to. I might as well have.
Saves you money and time.
Right. Yeah, my wife is going through the same thing. Well, where every 6 weeks, they're like, you probably need new glasses. She's like, I was here last week. I don't understand how I could possibly need more shit.
My vision somehow like stabilized after I was pregnant, which apparently is really rare. Like most people's eyes just get further degraded.
They do change during pregnancy. Yeah. I didn't know. So you emerged even stronger than before.
Prior to pregnancy, my eyes were I had a new prescription every year. It was like, without fail, I needed new glasses every year. But yeah, since being pregnant, I've only needed one adjustment in 4.5 years. So
no, I'm glad you got like a good souvenir of something other than a bad pelvic floor or stretch marks. I can't blame it on my kids, but I'm just like, I feel like no one really tells you about the middle, like when your vision starts to change and you realize like you can't see far and close at the same time. And I think you like are in denial about it for a while. You're like everything, you're like, I'm in a weird phase right now where I just have issues seeing, it'll go away. And then you have to kind of come to grips. And that's how you get reading glasses and things like that. But it's very horrifying, I think, to appreciate the oncoming of it. So.
We talk about it all the time, Willa, here, all the things that people just didn't tell you about, and I feel, obviously the whole sandwich generation thing is a big part of that, but I think you're right. The vision, because I feel like you grow up going, are you nearsighted or farsighted? And then which I still don't know what the difference is. But then eventually it's both and like everything in between. And so you need all of the different sets of devices. My wife like watches TV with one eye open because she swears like medically it is the best way.
That's a new one. Wow. I've never heard that one.
Fuck me.
My mom had a thing where her eyes, like she used to be whatever the one is that you can't see far away. And then as her eyes got worse, and she became more farsighted and stopped being able to read menus and stuff. Now she has perfect distance vision.
Sure.
So, you never know.
Yeah. Mine used to be so bad that I got LASIK a couple of years before we got married. And it was so bad that I walked into more than one men's locker room at a pool because I didn't chose to. Yeah, I in college, it's crazy that I lived life this way, or we all did, maybe for a moment in time. But in college, it wasn't unusual for guys to like walk into your bedroom basically just to say hi, and you'd be sleeping. Which is, I guess my life is kind of like that now. But
I was
a
gonna
guy
say,
would
what's changed?
Yeah, seriously. But a guy would walk into my room and be at the foot of my bed, and I'd have to say, "Who is that?" Because I couldn't see that far away. So it was amazing to get surgery to fix that at some point. So anyway, that's neither here nor there. But Willa, your glasses look great. How are you doing? What is your current
Welcome.
stage of
Welcome. This
parent?
is it. We just go straight into the thing.
Did you guys do any kind of spring break? Your child is a toddler, like 2, 3-ish
He's 4.5.
4.5 now. Okay. All right. Just catch us.
I don't know what you call that age.
Trauma.
I call that like a walking baby at this age.
A baby who can walk. Everybody, first parents always, they're
A
like,
baby
can't wait for
who
him to
can
walk.
like beat me up, more like it. And he does.
Yeah. What's his preferred?
We're in that phase. We're in like the please don't hit the people that you love. Please don't spit on the people that you love. Please don't, like, just the relentless choosing violence stage.
How is that, how do you feel like you are handling that? I mean, no one's enjoying that, obviously, but did you feel like when you were a kid like that, were you like that, or do you have siblings like that, or is
No.
this a whole new ball of wax?
It's a whole new thing. So I was like notoriously, like the perfect little introspective, self-entertained, only child girl living in the woods who'd love to draw for 5 hours in a row with no one to, with my parents, I feel got really lucky because I would entertain myself. And I think their personality types both sort of, they liked that.
Yeah.
But yeah, my husband and I would have appreciated a kid like that, but we very much got the opposite, a go, super opinionated, always wanting to do, everything all the time, fiery Pisces. Or sorry,
Yes.
I'm a Pisces. He's a Scorpio. He's a true Scorpio.
Oh, wow. I don't know if this is how you feel, but I've certainly felt the way that I'm like jealous of my parents for having me. I was such a good child, like listening to them, I feel like, and, caring about what they thought and things like that. And that must have been so great. I imagine you maybe feel the same way. You're like, I wish you could have enjoyed what a good child
funny.
I was.
My mom will be visiting, and my son, who of course is amazing in many ways, but he'll have one of his like signature, he has a strong, he's like a moody kid. And so all of a sudden he'll just go off into one of these, dark, like scary places where you just know it's over. There's no coming back from that kind of a feeling. And my mom will go out on the fool's errand. Well, do you want to have this? Do you want to, just trying to fix it?
Don't bother, lady.
Me and my husband always just watch. Good luck with that. And she'll later say, wow, that was so intense. You were never like that.
Wow. Well, that's, what? I had someone in Witches say, I did an issue a while ago. Maybe we can find the link, but it was like the least helpful things our parents have said to us. And one of them was like, you were so good. What happened? Basically, like, where did this come from?
Right. And also, but like, how is that helpful right now?
Right.
Yeah.
And it's blaming
my
you.
Therapist would have things to say about this, but another interesting thing is that apparently at school, my kid is like the perfect angel. He's, the first kid to volunteer to clean up and a friend to everyone and just super sweet. And so I feel like there's this thing going on where at home he feels safe enough to let out all those crazy pent up emotions. And so that's in some ways validating that he feels like he can be however he needs to let his emotions out in our presence and not bottle them up. I guess, right? Was that a good spin to put on it?
That is.
We apply that one all the time, and you're like, and still, it's very annoying.
Yeah, yesterday my husband and I were like, man, what a pain in the ass he is right now. Just, he finally went to bed. I think he was just overtired, and he finally went to sleep. And we both went outside, and because it's now still light out at, 8-ish, which is amazing. And we were just both like, what the hell?
Yeah, I know the feeling, putting the blackout shade, but like the sun is still like blaring out around the corners. Like they need a blackout shade for children. Yeah, like all of those things. I should send you a list of like toys because I have a pain in the ass kid who is also the same, but if you find a couple of the right activities for them, they can like channel that. This sounds crazy, but like a cup and ball. I know that sounds so like 19th century, but like
I'm
my
literally
mom,
sitting here in Colonial Williamsburg, like watching people go by, play with the fucking cup and ball.
James loves it. And if you catch him in the right mood, he'll just, you know what I mean? And it's, yeah, just slightly annoying, things like that. But it is,
That makes sense. Yeah, my kid
yeah,
is just like me. He's like a taskmaster.
yeah.
He loves to like sharpen pencils for an hour and,
Mhm.
you know, just gets dialed in. He'll be like, "Can we wash all the napkins in the house? And then I can fold all the napkins in the house."
That's amazing. Okay, first of all, I used to get paid to do that. So the fact that he's doing that for free, I used to get paid a nickel a napkin to iron with my mom. This is the kind of childhood that I had. So anyway, that's amazing that he can channel that. But having him be good at school is helpful. At least you're not like fielding too many of the calls from school being like, he was deciding to channel his
Yeah.
energy and intelligence into unhelpful ways.
Yeah, I mean, he's in preschool, so fingers crossed. We're actually
It'll come.
starting him in a very radical school next year, which I don't know if you've ever heard of the Sudbury model unschooling, where they have no teachers and no classes, and they don't teach kids how to read or write. Just like a
So
total wild card for this podcast, if you guys want to go down that route.
What is it? What is it?
So it's called unschooling, and the idea is it's completely self-directed learning, where the kids are forced to decide every day, every hour what they want to do. And then to keep it from being like complete Lord of the Flies situation, they have a very detailed and long-winded code of conduct thing that the kids write themselves. So the school goes ages 5 through high school. So using the older kids to guide conversation, everyone in the school, it's 80 to 90 kids, create basically the rules of the school. And I don't want to say like police each other, but that's kind of how it feels, like they hold each other
Pass the
accountable, I
conch shell
guess.
around.
Yeah, peer pressure.
Exactly. So yeah, locally people call it the anarchist school, and I was not really ever considering it, but then I visited again, and all of a sudden it just like totally clicked to me that in this era of AI and complete just the degradation of institutions and how there are no more jobs and all that, those little things, like this really appealed to us. So I'm excited to see how he does in this school.
It'd be
Just a
really
total
interesting if he
free-for-all.
just immediately like takes over, full power trip, full extrovert.
Yeah, a lot can happen. It's going to be interesting for sure.
There is a long-term Evil Witch reader, shout out to Hamilton. I don't know if he's listening, but he is an unschooler. And so he's kind of kept me in touch with like how his kids learn. And it seems it lends itself to geography. Like it seems like it helps more if you are in a place where kids have more kind of land to explore. I don't know if that's true or not. Tell me a little bit like how you found this school and like what clicked with you.
We actually just found the school because it's kind of close to us. His current school is like a 35-minute drive, which is slowly just like killing us.
That's long as hell. Yeah.
That is fucking.
And this school is 22 minutes. So
hold on. Where are you guys?
Where are we? We are in the Catskills. So up by like Woodstock, New York.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So yeah, totally. I mean, we live out in the mountains. We have a ton of outdoor space to play in and explore. And this school similarly has a huge property that the kids can get certified to go farther and farther away. If you're uncertified, you have to stay in the immediate vicinity. And then as you get older and you can demonstrate that you have the capacity to not get lost or hurt yourself or whatever, you're allowed to go, 200 feet from school. And then you can go like into the dense woods where no one can find you. Just things like that, where it teaches kids autonomy, which I don't think is really taught in any other kind of school that I didn't get the chance to decide what I wanted to do, during quote unquote school hours and what I wanted to study until college. And that was super disorienting. That feeling of, I get to pick what I want to study. Like, how would I even decide that? Just things that I find vaguely interesting. I don't know.
I would like to start with my kids as far away as possible. I would do that in reverse and just see if they make it back.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of it. Somebody asked that in one of the sessions about like, how does this even work for younger kids, especially? Like, how do these kids not just run away? And she was like, well, if you think your kid's going to run away, please don't send them to our school. That was basically the answer. And that gave me a little pause. My kid is a runner. He is going to run away for sure, but maybe not. I hope not. I grew up in rural Vermont.
Oh,
So
okay.
similar. Yeah.
Okay. So you like there's context here for sort of like where like what, kind of you envision for him and like the kind of education that, it's not like you grew up in, I don't know what I can think of, just a tiny town in Texas or anyway.
No,
That
it was rural, but there were, plenty of people where I grew up. I grew up outside of Burlington, Vermont. So I went to public school, and the high school I went to had 5 towns all combined into one really massive high school where it was like a different kind of Lord of the Flies. You had to like battle to get your classes that you wanted because there weren't enough spots for everyone. So we had something called Arena where you'd have to draw lottery tickets for when you'd go in, and then kids would be like pushing each other like Walmart on Black Friday to get the AP calculus slot so they could try and get into college.
Everything's going
Arena.
great.
That's such a dark name for it. That's crazy.
It was, I got a good parking spot like by the lottery, and somebody like popped my tires and cut my brake lines because they were mad about it once.
Oh my God. Okay.
It was like that.
Yeah. I don't blame you. This is fascinating. Like what? Wow. Okay. So that is what you guys are going with the parenting side. What are you working on lately? Because I was so interested in your background, which is like about, you do kind of messaging, writing, creativity, but also this environmental edge. What are you working on lately?
Yeah. So I had a pretty interesting and weird career trajectory coming out of working in museums with a studio art bachelor's degree, and then just felt very dissatisfied by bureaucratic art institutions and didn't really like making art that much anyway, quote unquote studio art, which would be like painting and sculpture and whatnot. So I ended up going into the tech world where I worked at Kickstarter for a long time. And then I got into editorial publications by way of helping to start a little publication called The Creative Independent through Kickstarter, and then ended up leaving there and going freelance that was during the pandemic. So I guess it's been like 6 years now. And I've sort of found myself in this, I guess, art, culture, technology, and environmentalism, like 3 or 4 way niche, I guess I would say, where I do a lot of copy editing, copywriting, content strategy. And that's my paid work. And then I have a million side projects at all times too. Kind of like my kid needs to fold laundry and sharpen pencils. I just need to start like spin off entities. So I run an artist residency out of my house. I run a newsletter called Dark Properties that's exploring the intersection between what I call personal and planetary ecologies. So sort of like where we as humans intersect with the natural world and what that looks like and how it feels. And then I also started a flower farm last year because I didn't have enough going on. And I run a gardening club. So yeah, I've been busy.
Yeah, that is very cool. I mean, I have a lot of just general like witchy, like chatty questions, but I feel like Quinn is very tapped into top of mind environmental, ecological crises as they interact with the family life. So Quinn, what is driving you crazy work-wise that, that your kids are bugging you at the same time about right now?
Have you been on the internet?
I'm focused on Pope stuff right now, so I'm not like
Pope is fucking killing it, man.
I know.
Your guy, who knew?
Well, we all knew. Honestly, come on.
You knew. Did you see? Was that video real? Like a few months ago, where someone in a crowd yelled something about "Go Cubs," and he was like, "They fucking lost." It's amazing, outstanding. Yeah. All the things, but that's what I kind of really loved about Will, about learning about all of your many work. However, we pluralize this kind of work when it overlaps so much, is you seem to, among all those things you just listed, like access to nature for whatever reason you need it in whatever way you want to apply yourself for yourself, but also for other folks, seems to be a pretty big theme. Did that feel, not to abuse the term, but sort of regenerative after tech and all that? And Kickstarter is great. I mean, I didn't work there, but I've utilized it many times.
I basically got my foot in the door in the tech world, creative technology, and left as soon as I possibly could, because I, for one, I hate having a full-time job, and I hate living in the city. I just wanted to be out in nature, creating my own schedule. So I feel like I just put in my time until I felt like I had enough of a network and enough of a portfolio, I guess, built up that I could get clients. And then I just was like, peace, I can't do it. I have just a really hard time having a boss.
It's fair.
To put it bluntly. And my nervous system is so overstimulated by the city, and I love certain parts of the city and I miss certain parts of the city, but being able to just walk out my door and be in like a bucolic forest has healed me in a lot of ways.
How often is your bucolic forest an escape from what really seems like a wonderful child? How often do you directly utilize it for that, or is it just like an everlasting
I
sort
mean,
of
I don't
presence?
really ever escape from my child, and my child is, I feel like my dream day is to read my book and drink coffee and garden and catch up with a friend, have a really nice, it's all very like quiet and calm things. And my child it's like he came into my life to start things up and get me, to pay attention to stuff that I wouldn't normally gravitate towards. So I've been learning about all different stuff that he likes. And when we go outside, he's not really interested in gardening. He wants to collect, 300 acorn caps and then, throw stones in the river. And we have a lot of fun outside. And I mean, that's kind of the best part. It's really hard in the winter because he has so much energy that there's nowhere to go. Like we had to get one of those bouncy houses off Amazon and move all our furniture around so we could fit it inside of our house. It's like
Fully get
he
it.
needs to be spinning and flipping and jumping at all times. So, but now that it's nice out, being outside with him is awesome. Like just teaching him about stuff. He knows all the different plants growing in our yard. He will be driving and he'll be like, "Mommy, look at the forsythia. It is brilliant." It's like suddenly saying the most adorable, sweet, shocking things. So yeah, I kind of take it for granted that we get to spend so much time together in nature, but it's good for him. It's good for me. I think it's when we're stuck in the house that we get the most on each other's nerves.
I love hearing that you have a bouncy house in the house. That's great, a house in the house. But also, I think I need to. It makes me feel more complete to hear that you guys live this beautiful bucolic outdoor life, but you also need to bring in. I was like, what is the crappy, shitty plastic shit that you have to endure in the house?
Oh,
Despite
so much plastic shit. Yeah.
Okay, because I just need to hear that sometimes because I'm like, you see this minimalist ideal. I see this beautiful kind of Swedish looking background behind you. And so I immediately think your house is like beautifully curated, exactly like that, 3-foot piece behind you. So yes, thank
I
you
have
for
the camera pointed towards the wall.
Okay, good. Yeah. What plastic shit is he into lately?
Well, that's a good question. So so plastics, I think about plastic a lot because as a flower farmer, it's very hard to avoid using plastic. It's just one of those things you kind of find yourself not knowing what else to use a lot of the time when you're potting up plants and trying to solarize. That's when you like cover the ground with black tarp so everything underneath it dies out and you can plant into it without it reduces the weed pressure. Just so many uses for plastic. And I hate buying new plastic. Like I'm so anti-Amazon, I'm so anti-plastic, and yet I'm still like on Amazon buying bulk plastic pots because I don't know what else to do sometimes. And my kid is, we don't actually buy him that many toys. I think he has a ton of toys, and then I go over to other people's houses and I think, holy shit, this is crazy. I feel like we have toys coming out our ears, but yeah, like I don't buy him anything plastic if I can avoid it. But, then we bought that clay that you can bake in the oven, and it says, make sure you don't bake it for longer than it takes to get hardened, or you'll get, like inhalation poisoning from whatever freaky substance this clay is made out of that we're not actually going to really tell you.
Yeah, sure.
Right.
So who
and then you
knows?
walk
I don't
away
know.
and it's still baking. Claire went into plastic, so I feel I can go into climate dread because it's the natural evolution. How much when you're outside with your kid do you, as my wife says, like lovingly, I think I can be the bummer in any conversation. Like, how much when you're outside in your bucolic garden do you go, and these plants won't be here in 10 years? Or these used to be, further south and they have, propagated more northward because of changing or all those sorts of things. Because 4.5 is a tough one. They're aware, but
I mean, I think about this a lot. I've been writing about and reading about and researching invasive species and sort of the way that they get a bad rap because they do a lot of bad stuff inside of native and indigenous ecosystems. But at the same time, there's this book that I stumbled into because I was dealing with both invasive jumping worms and lanternflies and among other things in my yard and garden. And I've always felt this sort of confusion and existential dread around, I never want to use any sort of herbicides or pesticides. It'd be physically impossible to get rid of all these things in the yard. So I just don't know what to do. It's like that feeling of, should I kill this? Should I rip it out? Should I leave it? What do I do? So I've just been on this hunt to try and decisively know in my mind so that every time I see one of these worms or, plants, I don't have to fall down that same rabbit hole of just that anxiety, dread, not knowing feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And spoiler alert, know so much about this now, still don't have a way to get out of that weird gray area. But it turns out that a lot of invasive species are filling a niche that has opened up in an ecosystem because that ecosystem has been destabilized. Mm-hmm. There's this book called The New Wild by Fred Pierce, and I just wrote an essay about this that came out in my newsletter last week, and then this coming weekend I've got an interview with Fred Pierce, which is cool. He's the first old white man I've interviewed in my newsletter, which is sort of interesting. I try to avoid them if at all possible, but he was radical enough that I felt it was appropriate. But his take is that invasive species are healing the planet basically because humans have destabilized our ecosystems so dramatically that the old, quote unquote, old established ecosystems aren't functioning anymore. And we need, it's kind of like pushing the power button off and on again. It's like we need a reboot. We need these new plants and animals to come in and shake things up and get things back on track. So
how much do you get into that with your kid at all? Again,
my kid is blissfully unaware of all of this. For a while I was letting him rip the worms in half when I'd find them, and then I was like, this is pretty fucked up. My kid is just tearing the worm open.
Can you describe to me, without me Googling, what a jumping worm, does it look, how much like a worm, an earthworm does it look like? What does it describe?
It basically looks like a huge, gross worm that,
no.
The first time I saw one in my garden, I was like, wow, my garden soil must be so healthy. Look at how fat and healthy these worms are. It's about the girth of a pinky finger.
No.
And they're kind of shiny and iridescent.
Gross.
And they have a big white, if you're seeing big worms, and normal earthworms, the way that they move is very slow, and they just look so delicate and kind of docile. Whereas jumping worms they're called jumping worms because they're, unpredictable. They're they're always thrashing around.
Oh, yeah. That is the worst.
And so at some point your child said, hey mom, look, and he ripped one in half.
Oh, constantly. He loves a task, as I was saying, and he loves collecting things. So we had a game where we would go out to the garden and collect jumping worms, and we'd just put them all, this is really gross, but welcome to the country. We would put them all in a big glass jar full of isopropyl alcohol. And, we'd just be going around killing all these worms together. And that was our fun hour-long activity.
He's going to be incredible in unschooling.
This
I'm so excited about this.
That sounds this reminds me of COVID. I feel like that would be the kind of thing that in COVID, and you'd be like, you know what? That counts as homeschool for an hour.
Right. That's got to be
now
math,
you can
right?
do streams.
I think we
did
math.
that.
Right. It's 9 a.m. I'm out.
Yeah, this is the country life. You're just out here digging up worms, ripping them up, throwing them out, composting them, finding more.
That is, my kids are such wimps. Okay, I hate worms though. Worms are the thing.
Why do you hate worms?
Well, she described the thrashing, the tumescence, they are, the fat pinkness is just not, it's just,
Okay.
I don't, the squiggliness, I don't like it. And I don't mind a spider. I can even handle a house centipede. I don't love a cicada, but I get it. But I just find worms so disgusting. So
does it make you want to kind of tear one in half?
No, absolutely not. And a couple of years ago, I went to the 100th anniversary of our summer camp and went there with the kids, and I did fishing with James, and which is fun. And like he's the kind of kid where fishing is like the perfect activity for him because he will just like lock in and wait for it, and he will do it forever. But I was one of the few grown-ups there, so I had to be in charge of helping with the worms. And it was so I cut these fucking squirming worms like on a cutting board and put them on the hook, and the kids didn't understand. Like, anyway, I should come live on the farm with you for a little bit and just like
I feel like that's the kind of thing when you get assigned that you could have been like, this is not for me.
Well, it was kind of fun because like it was summer camp and I felt comfortable screaming and not like just being as like immature as I wanted to be around it because I was in the same, I don't mean, I was like in a place where I could be a kid again, basically, and not have to act like I'm like, I don't know. It's different than when I'm manning the like concession stand at football and like having to do cash and I'm tired and I just did, I took a gummy. I can't express how flustered I feel, unlike when I'm fishing at summer camp. I don't know if that makes sense, but it's all about the context.
I just want to add that there's something really kind of, I don't know, there's something important about this exposure therapy around the gross, rotting, squirming parts of life that I've enjoyed now that we live upstate. And like we're about to get chickens, and my husband and I were talking about what do we do if one of the chickens gets like sick or mauled and we have to kill it? Which one of us is going to be in charge of that? And first I was like, oh, you have to do that. I'm the woman. I'm the lady of the house. I do not
lean on that real fast.
Of the chicken. Right. And then I was thinking, I think it's something that if you're going to eat meat, you should think about what it would mean for you to kill an animal. That's an interesting provocation to me. And I've assumed that I would never do that, but why not, You know
who's going to be really down to wring a chicken's neck?
My child.
Correct. Good news. Neither you nor your husband has to do it because he's been doing it this whole time.
Or cut to, this is Charlotte's Web and the sick chicken's going to live in your house, because you couldn't bring yourself.
Because no one will do it.
Honestly going to happen for sure. And then it'll be like dragging its ass around the house. Just
right. Meanwhile, Claire's from cushy Chicago, like watching some CNN headline, and it's like bird flu, upstate New York, Catskills, family could not give up sick chicken. And we're like, great, that's it.
It's funny because our dog, we had to take him to the vet on verdict, just his checkup on Tuesday, and he has to be tranquilized for it because he doesn't take well to being poked and prodded for whatever reason. And I give him you have to tranquilize him well enough ahead of time that it takes effect. So he has to take these monster pills. And my son was there and he watched me just plunge them down my dog's throat, massage his neck, and it was over. And he's like, damn, Mom. He's like, you didn't even put cheese on that, or you couldn't put peanut butter on that. And I was like, it's better to be fast and lethal than make a huge mess and drag it out and make, and then I told him about when, after I had my second child, a nurse tripped over my IV and ripped it out of my hand. And he was like, did it hurt? And I was like, well, it did not hurt, but then it was over so fast. What was I going to have her do? Put it back in and take it out all nice again. So anyway, but there's a famous story in my house. I feel like I'm appreciating now cool grandma stories. Like I've been like pricking my ears for these, but someone gave my family a goose or a duck, I guess, like my dad's parents when he was a kid. And his dad couldn't bring himself to kill it. And then, of course, it came down to my dad's mom to march into the basement with this like duck and an axe by the hand and take care of business. So anyway, I look forward to
what I'm talking about.
The conclusion of all this. Yeah. Amazing. Yeah. Quinn, have you ever had to, aside from euthanizing a pet, did you ever, do hunting or something like that?
No, I wasn't ever really down for hunting. I mean, I didn't go vegetarian until 15 years ago, something like that. But no, not really. Again, like we had to put pets down, found pets who would pass their own way around the property. I mean, I'm sure I've stepped on my share of animals. And my mom had chickens for a little bit and definitely remember dealing with that. But no, I've never assassinated an animal myself. Oh, that's, not really my bag, Claire.
I think the closest I've come is actively not tending to like an abandoned baby bunny in the backyard. And of course,
just quiet quitting.
Well, the boys were like, we have to do something. And I was like, no, like, I even Googled it. It wasn't even that hard to Google, where it's like, what do you do when there's like a baby bunny that's like obviously dying? And like the internet is like, do not take it inside the house. And so, but of course the boys were like, it was very tragic to let that happen. But
well,
anyway.
I guess my equivalent of that is like when we were in LA in the hills for however many years, 15 years, like whether you wanted your animal to be eaten or not, coyotes were going to take care of that. And you could hear it going down. It was a delight. Or you'd take the trash out at night and you'd be walking up the street and you just see the coyote on the road and he's looking at you and you go, in this current state, I'm losing this fight. So
Yeah.
they didn't give a shit at all.
No. I want to transition slightly to, Willa, you sent me a piece that I shared with Quinn. He emailed you about
it. Are you transitioning to skincare?
Yeah, I am transitioning.
Outstanding.
Yeah, not a good transition. I've done better than that, but
no, I think we can make this work.
Okay,
there's something there about the natural cycle of life and
keeping
aging.
our carcasses fresh. Yeah.
Right. Not being a carcass.
Yeah. Quinn, what's your skincare routine?
Well, I thought about this last night. And this morning. So I have swam my whole life. So I'm in college, all this. And I was pizza face when I was younger. So all, like the fucking cancer drugs we all used to use for our stuff. And now the kids put the adorable little stars on their faces and everyone loves it. So that was my skincare, was poison for a while. But then I didn't really do anything else. And I could never figure out why my skin was so dry. And it was because I lived in chlorine. But I think I just have dry skin. So eventually, I remember after I got married, I was like, I should try to pull it together a little bit as an adult. And I started using face wash, I believe Kiehl's, Kiehls. I don't know. Eventually, some friend in LA was like, that's poison. Here's what you should use. So now I do wash my face. I do. Cetaphil, I believe, is what I use, which apparently is pretty good. And then I've got some cream I use, which does keep my face from feeling dry. And that's it.
No sunscreen?
Oh, no, I got to use sunscreen or else I'm not allowed to come home. That was in the first two conversations my wife and I had with each other. One was like, are you dating anyone? And the second was her going, if you're going to be out on this beach, you need to use sunscreen. I was like, I don't even know what your name is. Yeah, that's not an option. I do that. We got enough skin cancer in the family. We don't fuck around with that.
Okay. Yeah. So, Willa, tell me a little bit about, you said this piece and I was curious where you're pondering your skincare and your aging and your vis-a-vis motherhood. I don't know if you have been feeling, older in your body post-kid, but tell me a little bit about where you were, thinking about aging, cosmetics, acceptance, climate change, all that good, fun stuff.
Was coming out of, I think I wrote that when I was like a year or so postpartum, maybe a little bit further out, but I was just like, after my son was born and just was like in full-blown insomnia territory and felt like my face was like, I kind of got used to the feeling of being tired as much as one does once you have a kid, or like insomnia either or both, as in my case. But I felt like my face just looked so tired. Like I had this super dark circles under my eyes, and that was around the time when I started noticing my first gray hairs, and I just felt like, oh my God, like, fuck, I'm suddenly an old hag, right? What do I do? And before then I had basically no skincare routine, like, besides washing my face and moisturizing it. And honestly, I don't even really have much more than that. One of those things where all of a sudden it hit me like other people are doing things that I should be doing. And then that's also around the time when I discovered one of my good friends was like doing Botox every so often, which didn't even occur to me that like people my age would do Botox or people that I knew would do Botox. I thought that was something reserved for like old, celebrity wives or something. Like it truly just went right over my head. And then I think I like brought it up to somebody else and everyone's been doing Botox. And then I was like completely shocked by that. And started feeling like, oh, I'm going to be the only one who's really and fucked up. Started getting into the water Reddit skincare community just to sort of, I honestly felt like I was back in high school. Like, what do people do for skincare? I don't even know. So I didn't have somebody to like teach me. I feel like whenever I try something from the ground up, I'll just like follow a couple subreddits and then let the algorithm ooze into my brain. So through that, I kind of got a sense of skincare community, I guess, which I think is a funny word for a funny application of the term community. But anyway, people out there who really seem to give a shit about this stuff, which is still not me at all. But I learned that people do a lot of things for their skin, and not just their skin, but like the structure of their face, I guess, and concerned about these things, which is also a bonus of living in the woods. I'm like blissfully not concerned. Like beyond picking up my kid from early, see people on a day-to-day basis. Sometimes the mailman, sometimes, and then that's about it. My husband. So I just like I'm phoning it in a lot of the time, like not taking a shower often, or like getting a real quote unquote outfit on. These things have just sort of like fallen by the wayside of my life. But I think once you're suddenly self-conscious about your appearance, you start to think about, okay, so, despite not really actively caring from in the day-to-day, am I doing myself a disservice by like never thinking about these things, or like not, I don't know, just ignoring it, I guess. So this is a long-winded way of saying that I got really freaked out that I was letting my skin go to hell and starting to like, rot from the inside out accidentally. And so I began searching for what would make a good skincare routine for me to keep my face from getting like super sunken in and wrinkly. And that kind of, I feel like sunscreen, like we were saying earlier, and that was like the only thing that I ended up doing, because the more I thought about it, the more I didn't do anything that seemed like I didn't want to do anything aggressive, or like, I don't know, didn't do it. Then I stopped caring about it because I was not really worth it in the long run.
I mean, I think it's interesting because I think women get sold sometimes the idea that if you get into the maintenance of skincare, like it'll be pleasurable on its own and still sustainable, and you'll just be beautiful always.
I feel, Willa, you talk in your work, and I, bounce through the blog and stuff like it's this, again, we talk about all the time, sort of this late stage capitalism, like our entire economy is built on AI infrastructure, and also inventing
that's what I felt
problems,
like,
and then
it all turned back in on itself.
Yeah, and when I see that going on with 11-year-olds, I'm just like, goddamn. This is a yes and, it's not a but. It's like,
oh my God,
the shit that's going on with young men as well too. Like, holy fuck,
it's literally a nightmare.
It's a fucking nightmare. It's a nightmare. Oh, and it's an absolute nightmare, and it is nonstop. I'm not 100% sure, frankly, how it gets better when everything is so connected, which is something that it's very clear, like, we're fundamentally, like, biologically incapable of handling. But yeah, it's everywhere.
My answer was, I think the more I prod like an artificial, provocation to sidestep natural processes, the epitome of late stage capitalism. How can we build things that are made of plastic and will never decompose? Like, everything has to be 100%, long lasting and pristine, and there's no bugs in your house, and your house isn't made of wood anymore because wood rots, and then you get bugs in it's just like, we're so stuck on this idea of like solving problems by creating things that last and that don't rot and that don't reflect the natural systems that we live within. And that resistance is what's getting us into trouble with like all these different facets of life.
Oh, fully. And, we had the antibacterial soap phase, which everyone did, and we just annihilated all the good bacteria. I mean, that was remaining outside of our body. We've already killed everything that was inside of it. And again, I try in our work to be as sort of constructive and future positive when humanly possible. But there are incredible things about plastic. It has reshaped medicine and all this stuff. And also it has ruined everything else. And it is like the escape hatch for fossil fuel companies. They don't give a shit if we drive cars anymore. But I think I'm trying to help my kids, like you said, natural processes, have them understand things. No, if you keep putting shit on your face and shower 3 times a day, like your skin, which is evolved to do its own thing, will not be able to do that. All the oils and shit are just going to be gone, You got to, these basic fundamental things like, yes, you should wear sunscreen, but also like vitamin D is pretty important. You know, like we've also evolved for that. It's all
a chord, and I've been thinking about it ever since, where she basically referred to the stage we're in now as like the stage of the frazzled consumer, where we're always negotiating between like products that we're not sure need this. Is there something else better? And I think ultimately what I've come down to is like, you need so few products. Like you don't need anything. And people see it as a this or that, but I see it as, what if you just had nothing? Like the less I can use and consume, the better. Like we sort of just stopped it. And honestly, I don't think we've like fully washed his hair in like 3 or 4 months, and it's great. His hair is perfect.
Who cares? I tell my kids in the summer, I'm like, the pool is your shampoo. Best wishes.
That sounds kind of, especially if you hit perimenopause, because you're a little bit younger than I am, but it does just get your body. I mean, what you were talking about being a new mom and sort of feeling shitty in your body is like, there is this like fine line of being, I think, a young parent and still feeling young and looking at your kids' youth. And then I don't know how to explain it, but like when you get to a certain age and stage of life too, you're like, oh, I am kind of entering the great hordes of like invisible women. And that's awesome in a lot of ways. And also in other ways, you're like, I wasn't ready for this quite yet. So it's a very like you cover like a lot of things that you're like, I'm not quite sorted out yet in my head, but the point of being like, why, like the thing with Botox, I'm like, I'm really curious how that would work. Also, it's expensive and it goes away and it sounds like it hurts. So I'm like, so that particular like effort does not
and
seem
I
worth
think about it too as like the effort
for me.
Instead of investing your money and time and into solutions, what about just accepting your age and your body changing? Like that's a different kind of work. It's sort of it's not like if you do nothing, you'll just be, and if you don't refuse to do Botox or whatever, any Ozempic or any of these things, succumb to doing nothing. Instead, vacation, can I instead do the work of acceptance and spend that time and energy in a different way? If that makes which is in some ways harder because it doesn't feel like a real.
No, I agree.
It's like a surrendering. It's actions focused and action oriented, and like if this is going wrong or you don't like this, like fix it, do this. But I personally like really started to think about the value of just like refusal and acceptance to what is naturally going to happen versus trying to stave it off.
Yeah. I also have this theory that people get to certain stages of life and they want to like feel pain like of their own choosing. And that's why people get tattoos or piercings or start some kind of process. And there's some kind of desire to, I don't know how to explain, I don't know if that makes sense at all, but I feel like sometimes that's part of it, is being like, I want to do something to myself, and there will be some evidence of it on the other side of it. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but that's something like a theory that I have. But I don't know if you guys have been there, if you have done like a piercing to mark, birthday.
No, mine was exercise and racing and stuff. I mean, COVID really cut that all in half. Like I had made myself into what it was, the Spartan racing, right? It's literally like running up fucking mountains, both carrying things and being weighed down by things. And I would do it on purpose. My wife would be like, just don't do it in front of our friends. But I would travel all over the cross country and do these things. And it felt great. Felt like a great way of testing
photo, like finish line photo for the
the whole fucking thing. But I was still like in a place where I was like, I needed to beat these people. I needed to feel how much it hurt to do these things, so that when I went home to my, at the time, 3 kids under 5, I was like, I can do this. Yeah. So it was more complicated now. But now, as I have told Claire, a lot of my parenting is what we've described as addition by subtraction, because I don't make a lot of the things better. And so a lot of it is just like giving up and surrendering and being like, Claire, what did you text me the other day? You said, and I told someone else about this immediately. You said you say a lot to the kids now more often.
Oh, I don't know what to tell you.
I don't know what to tell you all the time. My kid this morning has to go to his baseball game. He's 13, didn't have his jersey ready. He's like, can you wash and dry this before I leave? I was like, physically impossible. However time works, and we don't know totally how time works. Either way, it's not going to get done in time. And he's like, what am I going to do? I'm like, I don't fucking know. I don't know what to tell you. I do know that you're going to get on the school bus in 15 minutes. Like that I'm for sure of. After that, good luck. He's like, can you bring it to me this specific time during this specific class? I was like, no, I got to record it with Claire and yell about you. I can't do that. So I don't know what to tell you. But it's a lot of that, and that is helpful. And I'm much older now than both actual in a linear fashion, but also like physiologically than when I was doing that stuff. And my kids take up much more of my time, which I elect to do, but they're much more exhausting now than where they were when they were under 5, which I'm sure that's me rationalizing it a little bit. It's different now because they didn't want to have conversations at 9:30 at night about fucking whatever when they were 5, and now they do. And so I don't have a pain to choose. Like it is chosen for me all the time in a great way, but I think that has helped with the acceptance thing. My wife and I talk about all the time, like the one cream I use is truly so my face doesn't feel like fucking tight during the day. Aging is happening. We have fully embraced that part of it. Because what else am I going to do?
Well, I thought also about, think of it, and I'm being facetious, I don't really think this way, but I'll tell myself, like, think of like the hottest mom you know, like your hottest peer. And what does her life look like? And it's like she is schlepping around doing middle school volleyball practice, baseball, like driving grocery store. I mean, there's no one like, no one's like out here being hot. Like everyone is sort of doing the same grind. So what is the, like, not that there was ever like a cycle of life where it was like, it's important that you be hot because someone cares because it's your job. But, just in your just mental runway of life, which we all have the right to stroll down at times for sure. My son is getting confirmed tomorrow, and he had Steve take him to some haircut place that is like the cool place for boys, and he got a haircut. Then he's really feeling himself, and it was very cute. And I'm glad that he is feeling good, but also at the same time getting him dressed. Sorry, this is such a funny tangent, but just like on the one hand, he cares so much about how he looks, but the other hand, getting him to confirm that his clothes all fit and are clean and are within reach was such an ordeal that
it's a completely insane situation all of the time. The effort that is, my guy has a little like salt water thing he sprays in his hair so it's perfectly, but food on his shirt, not a problem. It's every day. I'm just like, I'm crazy pills.
Well, I think it comes back to like fashion and
absolutely.
That's always a sticking point every morning because it's his way of asserting some form of control when me and my husband are trying to rush him out the door. And I think it's probably the same for us when we're retain some semblance of control over how we look. And then once you start aging, it's like, well, you can kiss that goodbye.
Yep. Best wishes.
Yeah, especially I remember when Paul, my firstborn, and he was the only one around, was young. I could control how he dressed, and I had a little look in mind for him that I thought was pretty cute. And every once in a while, he would get a gift of something that I deemed not what I wanted him to look like, and I would hide. And it was just like me putting off, like, just, I didn't want him to look like basic. I don't know how to explain it. And now he dresses exactly that way, and that's, I'm glad I had my moment of being able to choose.
I don't know what to tell you.
Yes. Well, like Steve was like, which Crocs are Paul's? Because of course we have 6 pairs of Crocs in the front hall. And I was like, the dirty looking, like
find the
off-white
grossest ones.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, anyway, we are doing some background renovation work, and I don't really like to garden. I think it's because my mom did, so I just didn't. I just don't, as like a reaction to that. But if I wanted to do the most passive, I dream honestly of just shaking out some seeds and letting like some wild. Can I do? What do you recommend for something like that, where you're like, I just want to throw some seeds out there and not care about them at all.
What is the ground like now?
Come up. It is just kind of barren. It's just like kind of dirt. Like my husband has successful. There is like a vegetable, like there is a raised bed back there, and he has raised, I think, cucumbers and melons in the past, but he didn't go far enough to discern when you actually harvest them, so they can grow something.
What I would do is
no, we're not doing that.
I'm still not exactly sure what you're looking for, but is buy plugs you can buy like tray. It's called plugs because you get a tray of very small baby plants. The sprinkling of the wildflower seeds doesn't work. It's like
Nothing.
it's
Oh,
it's
really?
easier
Okay.
to get a tray of plugs than the plants are, you know, established, and continue to get bigger and
Already
bigger. And as they get
started.
bigger, they'll
Okay.
crowd out the weeds. The problem with the seeds is that they're so small that it's almost impossible for
Okay.
them to compete with the weeds. So I would get plugs and look for
Okay.
native plants
That's
that
a good
will get
reality
big and
check.
bushy in your area. Where do you live?
In Chicagoland, we have big time Western exposure in the backyard. So I'm just always jealous of my friend who she lives a couple, like a mile from me, and she has these like beautiful, like busy backyard,
Well,
but she
you
also
can if you
cares
get native
and puts in the
plants
time.
that
So
it's pretty
that is a
easy to
big,
get stuff to. There's a lot of very low basic native plants that will thrive in pretty much any setting. Just make sure if you have a really shady spot, that's like the one caveat. But yeah, get some plugs and then just plant the stuff that gets the
Okay.
biggest and the tallest to the back and the stuff that stays the shortest to the front. And throw down some compost, some bagged compost when you plant it, and you should be ready to rock and roll.
Claire, it seems like you're looking for the unschooling version of gardening, which is to just throw things out there.
Yeah,
Another
exactly.
thing you can do,
Ungardening.
years, but in the meantime, you can do chaos gardening. So after you put in the plugs, you want to scatter literally any kind of seed that will die off and not become a weed. So that would mean like annual things. They die off every year, so they're not going to like, you can use any kind of like bean or like literally beans from the grocery store, like bulk beans from your natural food store's bulk section, chickpeas. They're really good beans are really good at improving your soil. So I just plant them anywhere that I have bare soil and I don't want weed seeds to take root. You just want to keep it. That's called a cover crop. So if you have exposed dirt, just plant something that will die off, some kind of like fun thing that you can experiment with.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Maybe this will be like my new thing for like this year of my life and this phase of my life. I'll like, mind this. Quinn, do you fuck with your backyard? Are you growing shit back there? I know you just
usually like to. With the renovation, there's no doing anything. All of my everything is fucking trashed, which is fine. Again, acceptance. It's all good. Like to, yeah. And the kids love to fuck with it, which is great. Yeah. But no, I've let go of all that for the time being, which is annoying, but it is what it is.
I think it was during COVID, we had a long strip of dirt in our backyard because we just put in the wiring for the EV, by the way, like feeling really good about electric cars right now. But the kids just had these like kind of just secret little communities that they've been building out of dirt with like rocks and stones. And it was like, True Detective, like just finding these things in the forest. You're like, I don't know what this is. This seems like kind of satanic, but it was great. It was really nice. Like nice little stage of life.
Amazing. Tell them to rip worms in half.
Yeah, seriously. I wish then you get more worms. That just doubles your problem. So maybe not.
It's possible. You got to find out. Got to find out. That's nature. This has been fantastic. I could talk about gardening shit all day.
Well, you have such an interesting, I thank you for talking about all of this crazy, interesting, terrifying stuff all come together. And I love, by the way, you have a son who sounds like he has been sent to give you a run for your money. I don't know if you ever feel humbled by having a boy who just, does whatever. He's like the id when you have the carefully, curated ego. But I feel that way sometimes when you're like, okay, I have been come to realize that I'm not in control and to, find the good sides of things. I don't know if you feel that way, but
I mean, my
my
kid it's such a lesson in like the nature versus nurture question. Like this is all nature. Like he was born, actually we named him Wally because when he was in utero, like we had a couple other name ideas, but he was constantly like kicking me and he seemed so squirrely already from inside of it's like this none of these names work. And then Wiley popped up. I was like, that's how he's gonna be. But yeah, he's teaching me new things all the time. And forcing of like, I'm a very OCD, routine oriented person. And it's like, goodbye, all of those things that kept me sane. Like, oh, you like to get eight. Oh.
Oh, these are the
Yeah.
specific systems that sustain you,
Yeah.
done in order? Not
Right.
anymore.
You like to make plans ahead of time and be very organized. That part of me is dead. Like we
R.I.P.
spit on her grave.
Shove it down.
Dance
So,
on her
I mean,
grave.
it's all of these, it's nonstop, like beans and out of your shell and just run for my money every day. And it is exhausting, but it's also so cool and
Yeah.
so fun and humbling and terrifying. And yeah, I mean, I think a lot about just the weirdness and look at him. I'm like, I can't believe that this being is like came out of me. And he's so his own person. It's just like insane. It's fucking weird.
Wait till they get older.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
I say to my wife all the time, I'm just like, that thing that just said that and is wearing that, you
It's
baked
just
that
crazy.
inside.
And
That's
the way
part
that
of
you'll
both
like,
of us. Like it was made in a
just
test tube
sheer,
somewhere,
like,
and it's insane.
The kind of randomness of like, however he was specifically the one that we got, it feels both completely random and then completely there could have been no other way or whatever, just like it had to be him. That's kind of how I feel, where it's just
Right.
I cannot really imagine how we could have had it that anyway.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you for coming and chatting on. I just thought, like, when you sent me that piece, and we'll get it up on either Quinn's or my newsletter or our websites one of these days, but we will cross-reference it. But I was like, this really like talks to a lot of places, and I think a lot of what we talk about with parenting involves like your identity and how much your kids don't give a shit about our identity, but we still happen to sometimes often care about our own identity despite what our kids think. So I just thought that kind of, spoke to a lot of those different parts of us. But anyway, do you want people to like find you online, by the way?
Yeah.
Are you findable and reachable?
I feel
for
very
anything
findable.
Yeah, what's up?
My newsletter is dark.proper. My website is wil.la. Willa. My social media, I'm on Instagram as WILLK, and then all my other random projects can be found through those links.
Head to notrightnow.show for more, or send us feedback, questions, horror stories, doxing, whatever it is, at questions@notrightnow.show.